friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 59. Today is Friday, October 14th, and I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, where we are having a spectacular stretch of fall weather. We're having temperatures these next coming days in the mid to upper 70s. The North Carolina State Fair is going on, so that's a great temperature for the fair to be opening, the opening weekend of the fair. And my husband and I are planning to go on Tuesday when it will, of course, be a high of 57. So we're not really catching the wave of the perfect weather, but it will be very nice. It's supposed to be sunny, so it'll be fine. Flosstube means cross stitch. Variety show means something else. I have a story to tell you today that relates to the purple sampler, so we'll see about that when we get there. But let me start with cross stitch. I have worked on a few things. You know, when I finished that quilt, I thought I was going to have all the stretch of time, and I have, but I've had to do some household things. So it hasn't been entirely at my own disposal, but that's all right. I worked some on Snippet Tiger Stare by Charting Creations. And this is, I'm doing this on sand-colored 18-count Aida with the called for DMC. I think there are 89 colors or something. So I filled in a lot of little open bits of confetti up here and down into here. I'm not quite to the bottom, really. I mean, I think I've stitched to the bottom in 1 or 2 stitches, but I haven't filled in all that way down. And I've started to do the black, which, as I mentioned the last time I showed this, I am using Anchor black rather than DMC because the reputation is that Anchor has better coverage than DMC for the dark colors on lighter fabric. I think the coverage is fine. Again, I haven't tried the DMC, but that's what I'm doing. That's fun. I show this related to the purple sampler every time because a lot of the things I am using in the sampler come out of this book. As you recall, I'm sort of improvising this sampler. It's for a friend of mine, and I've shown this is the top. It's a band sampler, basically, with some motifs. And this section, yes, I know, it's a lot of white space. I will fill it in with something. Last time I had finished the, sorry, it's all jiggly. I'm not holding it very still. I had finished that border, and I had finished that one maybe, and I had started the alphabet. And so you can see, why is there a shadow? Oh, because there's a fold there. You can see I finished the alphabet, and I put my initials, E, H, and W, in the lighter purple. And this is how I'm signing this piece. And up here, I put 2022 in the section of numbers. So that's my signing of it. And then these two motifs, the anchor, just because I like an anchor, and that right there. And that's what I'm going to tell some stories about when we get to the variety show section. So stay tuned. I'll show that again when I get there so that you'll remember what it is. I've also worked some on Eliza Stringer age 6, which is by Hands Across the Sea. It's a reproduction sampler that was provided to those of us who are attending the Great British Sampler Weekend 2023 in just under a year. And so I've just continued a little bit. I can't remember if I'd finished this whole row of alphabet. So there's another 2 rows, I think. I think there's, I don't know, I can't remember. And down here, I put in more of this little border motif. So, you know, I'm not making hugely fast. I could really make fast progress on this if I worked on it exclusively, but not going to. This is 46 count some kind of linen, some color of linen. And this is 103 silks, 4 colors that I picked, not randomly, but. So that's what I've worked on. You recall that I didn't show today, just so you remember what else I'm working on. The Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather, I haven't touched that in 2 weeks. Crazy. And I did not show Sampler 193, which is the red one. The red one. I think, and I didn't show you the Blackbird because I only work on that the first weekend of every month if I have self-discipline, which so far I have. So that's what I've worked on, but I have other cross-stitch things to show you because I decided to buy a few things. Yeah. These are PDF charts that I got, so it's not crazy. Fox and Rabbit, I'm a member of their Patreon, and I'm also part of the Facebook group that does their mystery sampler every year. And last year I did the Talavera tile one. I didn't do the one this year. It didn't really grab me, though I will download the complete pattern when it's done. But I didn't join this. I wasn't aware of them in 2017 when this one was the one, which I really like. Every year they have a mystery sampler. And I was not part of it in 2018 when this was the one. So I went ahead and bought these 2 charts off their website, PDFs. The bands are things that I think are interesting, and I might use them other places, including in the purple sampler, I suppose. But I might stitch that sampler. Who knows? And I also bought this one. This was not one of their mystery ones. This was one that Karen Kirk. So those 2 were designed by Brenda Kirk, who is the husband of Fox and Rabbit. He's the fox of Fox and Rabbit, and the rabbit of Fox and Rabbit is Karen, his wife. And she designed this one, I'm going to say 2 years ago, for Black Stitching November, which, if you follow the cross-stitch world, there's all kinds of things that people do, sort of ways they designate different months and so forth. And this is called Pomegranate Sampler, and it's in black and gray. And I bought it because I think those letters are kind of interesting, and I could see doing a monogram on something using one of those letters. And I really like the pomegranate design as well. Would I stitch the whole thing? I'm not sure. Life is short. So maybe not. But I did get those, thought I'd show them to you. Now this is an actual plan. This is Winds of Autumn, which is the book by Blackbird Designs. I've got it 2 years ago, I think. And it has, I think, 12 projects. And there are a few in here that really sort of captured my attention. It's sort of hard to show this without showing the graph sometime, but this one is called Spell of the Moon, which I kind of like. It's kind of a Halloween design, I guess, but it's also just an autumn design. I kind of think, let's think of it as an autumn design. And around here, we hear the owls almost every night these days. Another one I really like in here is, where is it? Well, I like almost everything in this book, actually. I could picture stitching any of it. Wow, must be last. Ah, yes, it is last. This one is called Mighty Acorn. And the little saying on it says, mighty oaks from little acorns grow. And you see there's oak leaves and acorns. And I sort of thought that actually would make a nice birth sampler. So I might do that. Now, one of the things I've noticed, which is the theme of this and some of the other charts that I've bought, Blackbird designs and others, is that they're designed using overdyed flosses, Weeks Dye Works or Classic Color Works or something like that. And I don't have those, and I don't have a shop nearby where I can just go and finger them and look at them with my eyes. I think there's a place in Greensboro, which is about an hour from here, that I need to talk Cindy into going with me sometime. But so to look at this list of threads, and they're all Weeks Dye Works, and there's a DMC version given, but it isn't going to look just the same. My experience with using the DMC versions, as I think I mentioned in Full Glory, the Blackbird that I'm working on now, is that they're not necessarily satisfying the way the picture in the book shows. So, I don't know, I may have to break down and get the Weeks. Which brings me to this, which is Winter Rose Manor by Brenda with Thy Needle and Thread. Many people on Instagram and Flosstube have stitched this. I mean, it came out a few years ago, and probably I've seen 100 different people stitching it in just my tiny perusal of those social media outlets. I like it. I bought it last year at the quilt show, this year at the quilt show, whenever it was that I was at Dying to Stitch in Virginia. And while I was there, I did not buy the threads for it, because it has a variety of, it's Weeks, Gentle Arts, Sampler Threads, and Classic Color Works. And some of the threads that are called for in this don't seem to be available. Like there's something called Wind Rose, I think, which I think is a Weeks, which I haven't found it. No, it's Gentle Arts. I haven't found it. And there is not a DMC conversion here, but I imagine that I could get one. You know, I could contact or ask on Instagram or something if someone has a DMC conversion. But the variegation, I mean, it is definitely designed with those threads in mind. And it wouldn't look the same if I didn't use those threads. And the other thing is that this fabric, I haven't been able to find this fabric. It calls for, Brenda's Brew linen by R&R. I looked online a couple places and it isn't available. And I could go by the picture and say, well, it kind of looks like such and such, and try to buy something that would be equivalent. So much of the look of a piece is in the entirety of it. It isn't, you can't just pick any old linen and substitute any old threads and have something that will look this nice. So I feel as if it may be worth some time to search around for the right materials. I mean, there are a couple of online places I haven't looked, and maybe I can find what I need there. But that is something I would consider starting in January, assuming I have finished something, which I will have. It's mid-October only, so. Now, you may remember back in, I don't know, might have been April. It seems like forever ago. So, I mean, maybe it was last winter, I don't know, when I told you here on this video that I had done an insane thing, 2 insane things. One of them was either one of them alone was mildly insane. The 2 of them were entirely insane. and that is that I pre-ordered from Missouri Star Quilt Company, Jenny's Countdown to Christmas box, where you open something every day in December, from December 1st to December 25th, in order to see these cute little projects and notions and cool things, which I got the box last year and really liked a lot of the contents of it. In fact, just the other day, I decided to go up in the sewing room, and one of the things that was in it was a project of making these little keychain holder things. The hardware was provided and the little fabric and the instructions, so I had to provide fusible fleece, which I have some of, and thread, my sewing machine, and so forth. They're very fun. That was fun, easy, straightforward. Beware, any of you who are my actual friends, you might be receiving key holders for Christmas. I don't know if you want them. There's other good things you can do with such a thing as that. So I leave it to you. But the other thing that I got, that I ordered at that same time, the same insane moment, was something called Holiday Countdown Sal from Evertote, which is a, that's right, I need to put that in my description box. I need to open the description box because I need to read something from it later. It's a stitch along that starts December 1st because we have all kinds of time in December to just sit around and cross stitch. So the box came the other day. I won't show you the box, but it came, and this is the thing about it. It's a band sampler. The designer is Modern Folk Embroidery Jacob. I don't know. He has a last name, but I can never remember it. And the floss and fabric is by Roxy and Company, which is a Canadian floss and fabric dyer. And it came beautifully packaged. Here's the fabric. I have not opened it. Still sealed. Here's the day number 1, day number 2. You can see that it's very nicely packaged. 25 packages like this in the box to be opened. Now, the box says on the outside, not in huge writing, but it does say, don't open until December 1st. Well, that's not happening. So anyway, that I will open December 1st or November. Yeah, actually, I probably won't open it before December 1st because I'll be on the road for a few days right after Thanksgiving, and I won't. I mean, I may be tempted if I were home, but I won't be home. That's probably good. So then Cindy and I were at one of our local shops, the shop where our machines come from, our Bernina's in Raleigh, north-ish, West Raleigh, I don't know what part of Raleigh, called World of Sewing, Bernina World of Sewing, and they have fabric and patterns and threads and things. Bernina sewing machines there. I think that I actually, I did buy some fat quarters for a quilt I'm going to make for my newest great niece, who was born in April, I think, or maybe March. I don't know, maybe May, sometime a little while ago. I haven't seen her, so I haven't met her, so it doesn't stick in my mind what her birthday is. And she's 2 generations away. She's the generation that my grandchildren would be, were I to have any, which I don't yet. Anyway, I did buy a little fabric. Normally, if I go to a fabric store, it's so hard to not buy fabric. But this time I didn't much. But this is a plan for 2023. Cindy and I each bought the pattern and the foundation papers for this quilt. Isn't that a spectacle. So it is made, it's called Infinity, and it's by Jacqueline de Jong, I think is how you say her name. And it is made with 28, maybe 26 shades of rainbow colored batiks, plus black and white, and the, you can see that inner border and outer border has a little stripe fabric on it. And it's rated 6 stars for difficulty, i.e. it's not for the faint of heart. And the main reason it isn't is because there's so many very sharp points, and it's going to require perfect piecing and pressing to get that really nice. But it's spectacular, I think, and I think it will be very interesting to make and fun, and the pattern comes with many sheets of large scale. I mean, I'm not going to pull it out, but I'll pull it out a little bit. Foundation patterns and very detailed instructions. The instruction book is about 40 pages long. That goes through each section. You know, this is how you make this particular thing, and you make 8 of these, and this is how you make this part of it, and you make 16 of these or whatever. Now, we haven't found the fabric yet. Some of it is available where we bought the pattern, and we'll probably go back there and get the fabric. But we were there on a day when we didn't have tons of time, and to select 28 pieces, it's 28 different fabrics, even if you go by exactly what the pattern calls for, you wouldn't find them all probably, and then you'd have to make some substitutions and so forth. So we didn't do it. We did not do it that day, but we probably will. I looked a little bit for it online. It's a little hard to figure out what is what, actually, if you look online. So that's all I'm going to show you about cross stitch and slipped in one little quilt there. Now let's go back to this. So that thing that's there that I put down here is not a dog's paw print or a cat's paw print. That is a wolf paw print. And I got a silhouette of a wolf paw print off the internet, so I know, because everything on the internet is true and accurate. But the reason I wanted to put that in the sampler is because it will remind Anne, and it reminds me while I'm working on it, of an amazing type of event. And I'm going to just pull my computer around in front of me because I want to read a little something in a moment, called the Public Wolf Howl at Algonquin Provincial Park. Now, Algonquin Park, I've mentioned before, it's where we went camping for many years, and Anne and I went to a lodge there called Killarney Lodge, which we have a plan to go to, which we have a desire to go to next year. We don't have a plan yet. Lakes, hiking trails, naturalist programs, beautiful scenery, and it's a very large park. And the way it's situated in Ontario, it actually straddles the main highway, Route 60, that is the main route, east-west highway through that part of the province. And it has different terrains and different types of forests in it. So the naturalist, the nature walks that you can take, or the hikes, I should say, that you can take, are varied, and they're very good brochures that teach you what you are seeing. And a lot of that is put out by the Friends of Algonquin Park. So if you go to the Friends of Algonquin Park website, you can find out a lot of interesting things about the park. And one of the things you can search for is the Public Wolf Howl. So the first time I was at Algonquin with Anne was, it might have been 2001 or something. It was a long time ago. And we stayed at Killarney Lodge. maybe we were camping the time that this happened. But anyway, we went. We happened to be there in August. I think it was the whole family was there. We were camping in tents. We were there in August. Anne and I went to the Wolf Howl. I am totally making this up. I have no idea which visit it was. Sorry about babbling. But what you can glean from that is I've been there several times, many times. And in early August is primarily the time we went. So in August, the packs of wolves that live in Algonquin Park, and there are maybe 4 or 5 identified packs that live there, their pups are old enough for the adult wolves to leave during the day at a rendezvous spot. So, but they're too young to go hunting with the adults. And so it's the perfect time to raise the attention of a pack of wolves. For instance, if another wolf were to come into the territory of that pack and howl, the pack would answer to say, don't come nearer, this is our place. And as the adult wolves are returning from their hunting during the day, they howl and their pups answer. So, and the reason that this is in August is just because that's how old the pups are. If they were born in, say, June, then they're about the age, or maybe May, I'm not sure when they're born, but sometime in the spring. By August, they can be left alone. And their instinct is to stay where they're put. They don't wander off. They stay and wait for the adults to return with food, presumably. So that is why it's August. And we go camping in August there because August is a great time in terms of weather. It's cool at night and there are no mosquitoes. And it's usually warmish in the daytime. Warm enough even for swimming in the daytime still in August. So that's a great time to go camping. So we went to the Wolf Howl, and you drive your car to the naturalist, to the amphitheater, and there's a program with slides talking about the wolves in Algonquin, the history of the wolf packs and the ecology of wolves, and then they describe what I just told you about why August is a good time to hear wolves howling. And then everybody gets in their car with the strict instructions that you're going to follow the car in front of you. And when it pulls off the road, you pull off behind it. And then you get out of your car and you close the doors of your car. So you don't want to have beepings or lights on or anything. And then you stand quietly by your car. And by the way, no dogs are allowed because nobody came to Algonquin Park to hear your dog howling. They want to hear the wolves howling. So then the rangers, the naturalists, are aware of where the cars are, and they lead to the point where half the cars are going to be beyond the central point where the wolf pack is closest, and half will be this side of it, and they loop around so that there are cars on either side of the central point. And if you're lucky, as we were, it's a beautiful night. It's not too cold. The air is crisp, and the stars are amazing because it's not wilderness per se, but it's away from cities. And so there is not much light pollution to spoil your view of the stars. And one of the few times in my adult life that I've seen the Milky Way has been on these 2 nights of wolf howling that I've been able to be on. Then, so everybody gets out of their car and they're waiting quietly by their car. And if you were the first car to park, you might wait 15 or 20 minutes while the rest of the cars get situated and everybody gets out. And then the rangers have radios, so they signal to each other that everybody's ready. Then the rangers near the center of the line, at the closest point to the pack, howl. One ranger howls. Mimics a wolf howl is what I really mean to say. And with any luck, the pack answers. And both times that we went, that happened. And it is the most unbelievable experience. And there goes my ice machine. My ice machine is howling while I'm telling you about this. There we go. It's quiet now. It is really an eerie and almost otherworldly experience to hear the wolves howling. And you hear the high-pitched yip-type sounds of the pups, and you hear the more full-throated, traditional wolf howling, wolf sounds of the adult wolves. And both times, especially the first time, the pack of wolves went on howling for 10 minutes. It was quite something. So I wanted to read to you. So the last time that I was there was in August of 2010. And there, on this webpage, on the Friends of Algonquin Park webpage, there's a section on the wolf howl, and there's some logs of the wolf howls. And I went back. I could not get to the one. Doesn't seem to be one on here of August 5th, 2010, which is the one I would have been at most recently. But there's one from the next week. And so I'm just going to read a little bit of this. There were 405 cars, 1,620 people who participated. And so they would drive the cars out past the center point, and when 202 cars had gotten to the end, then they would go back. When they had counted 202 cars, they would go back, so that you were no more than 100 cars away from that center point, parked along the road. How the pack was found. The naturalist staff out scouting for wolves on Tuesday night heard pups at this location, but not adults. On Wednesday night, we set up staff at various locations along this particular road to try to pinpoint the location of the rendezvous site. After one single howl from one of the naturalists, several adults and pups all responded. So they knew that there was a wolf pack there, and that it was probably primed to respond to a supposed wolf intruder. What happened at the howl? So we moved the line of cars from the outdoor theater to the road centered at kilometer 1.7. Once everyone was in place, we started the first howling sequence. There was no response after the first 3 single human howls. But after the 2 naturalists did their first group howl, an excellent full pack response was heard. After a 15-minute break, the naturalists again howled, and after their second group howl, the full pack of wolves, both adults and pups, responded. This was again an excellent long pack howl, ending with a single adult and a single pup trading howls with each other. I mean, isn't that something? And I can't describe to you what it sounded like, other than to say it was what you imagine it would be and more. It was quite amazing. And really, when I think of Algonquin Park and I think of camping, some of the things that I miss are the sounds. One of the other things I mentioned in a previous video was the loons. At night, I would wake up in the middle of the night and hear the loons calling to each other. And that is a unique sound. It's unique to northern lakes, in my experience. Apparently, loons migrate away from the north down to even North Carolina in the winter. But I've never seen a loon down here, but I don't go to a lot of lakes. So maybe there are some. But anyway, the sounds of the autumn. Well, no, that's late summer, August. That was a while ago, wasn't it? Now, I'll refer you to that page in the description box if you want to learn more about the wolf howl. In COVID, in 2020, all the wolf howls were canceled. I think the park was closed to camping. I'm not sure. And in 2021, all the howls were canceled. And in 2022, in August, there apparently was scheduled a program at the outdoor amphitheater about wolves, but I don't see any mention of wolf howls in 2022. So I'm not, I mean, the wolves are still there, I would imagine. I'm not sure if wolf howling will continue to be a feature of Algonquin Park, but it's been going on for many years. So it isn't just recent. It's been going on for many, many years. Many years before my first experience with it. Yeah, I can't remember what year it would have been. My first time with it. But anyway, it's something. So this was longer than the recent videos. I hope that that's fine with you. I have had a great couple weeks. Next week, my husband and I will go to the fair, and I'll find out if my quilt is displayed at all. And yes, I might be recording on Thursday next week. I might be out of town next weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I will do a video, even if it's a brief one, but it might be on Thursday. We'll see. I think I'll do a video. Yeah. Guess that's all. Hope you have a good week stitching or going to your local fair, interacting with wildlife, raking leaves. It is that season, most parts of North America, most parts of the northern hemisphere, I suppose. And all of those things. I hope you have a great week. Many blessings to you, friends.